Yokoso and welcome. Welcome to a special episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, sometimes twice a week, I get the honor and pleasure of taking you on a journey to places you've never been before, to stories you've never heard before. Each and every week, I get the magnificent opportunity to take you on a mental, physical, and spiritual adventure. And because I am a storyteller, because I know the power of stories, I believe and I'm absolute confidence that somewhere along the line, somewhere in this journey, you're going to hear something that's going to move you. You're going to hear something, a story that's going to make you look at the world in a different place. And my job, my mission each and every week is to create a sound that will inspire you, that will resonate with you. And then you can take that thing that has been inside of you for so long and use it as a bridge, as a template, as a inception point to help you discover the value of your own stories, of how you relate to the world and how the world relates back to you. Barbara asked me to come back on because obviously, first of all, I want to say to all of you, thank you so much for watching yesterday's show with my kids. It's such a wonderful opportunity to be a teacher. I started in teaching in 2011, 2012. Actually, I was recruited by Northwestern University. At the time, President Obama was the president, and they were looking for more science teachers to, especially African American male science teachers, to come and bring a different way of teaching science and history. So I was recruited by Northwestern, and I was fortunate enough to work for and be trained in the art of teaching by the Chicago public school system. And I was a lead science teacher. Sorry, the traffic is right here, but this is France, okay? And then I got the opportunity to work with a wonderful organization called the Siegel Institute. And what Siegel was doing was taking people, graduate students, undergraduate students from France, bringing them to the United States to give them a whole new look, a whole new understanding of what American life is, American culture, American business. And for 5 years, I worked with French people and literally traveled. Had not only was I a employee there, was I was one of the faculty members. My title was Director of Transformational Empowerment. I love that. I loved. I used to go to work every day just feeling that my job was transformational empowerment because my job, my responsibilities was to take what they were learning and get them to see the value. The value of not only who they were as people, what their educational background, what their experiences, what the things they had gone through in their lives to get to that point, but how that would relate to the companies that they wanted to work with. And that's vitally important because so many people don't really know their own value. And I use gemstones because gemstones have, everyone understands gemstones. When I say diamonds, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, and pearls, and I know I've said this before, but there's so many people are coming on to this channel, this network, my show, and they still need to hear that. I met two wonderful people yesterday. Now we have someone from Russia. So Boris, I don't know how to say hello in Russian, so I'll have Boris on in a couple weeks, and Julia, who is French, and both of them are artists. Boris is from Russia, and he is a champion diver. And Julia, who's absolutely gorgeous, just the quintessential French woman, she was into what is it called, the synchronized swimming. And the problem with all the things that they've done, the education, the training, they competed for their country. They went to different. They worked on the Royal Caribbean cruise lines, and then COVID hit, and of course everything shut down. They were some of those people that were on the boat, on the ship for days, weeks. They couldn't even leave the cabin, and now they're back here in France, trying to change their life, trying to get a new job because that chapter of their life is closed. And the problem is in France, you basically list what you do. So I went to this school, I did this, this is my grades, this is that. So it's all about your education and your experience. And the problem with that type of thinking is that you can't separate yourself from everybody else. So if I was, let's say I went to the same school as Boris. So Boris and I, let's say I went to the State University of New York. We both went to Northwestern. I was in the Marine Corps, and let's say he was in the French Foreign Legions or whatever the military is called in France. Actually, I never served with French military troops, but whatever they're called, if you just listed it as an itemized list of who he is, you would never know who he is. And so I taught them the powers of being able to tell a story. You have to be able to take who you are and what you do and package it. Package it in a way where people can see your value. And it's no different than a gemstone. As I told you, 3 weeks ago, I've been so many places in the last 3 weeks, I have to really think about where I was. But 3 weeks ago, I was in New York. And what I told you, in fact, I wanted to go ahead and put my shirt out here in New York. Doretta, thank you so much. Doretta gave me a shirt before I left just to remind me where I'm from. So New York is in the house. And it's 3 weeks ago, I was in New York studying gemstones. And when you're a gemologist, you just have this box of stones, usually put in nice little packages. They have numbers so they know what it is. But your job as a gemologist is to figure out what that is. And it's a very difficult part of the program. Really, it's the main part of any gemology program, whether you go through GIA, Gemological Institute of America, or GEMA, Gemological Association of Great Britain, or the school I'm now associated with proudly, the International School of Gemology. It's all about gem identification. And I have to say again, what Robert James, my mentor and the owner and president of the International School of Gemology, says, it's not, don't try to figure out, don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. Don't try to figure out what it is. Figure out what it's not. So today's theme, and this is a shortened show, is who are you? Who are you? And more importantly, who are you not? What can you do every day that you can do without even someone motivating you, without you thinking about it? I didn't have a script today. Barbara just said, "Hey, Barry," literally at 4 o'clock in the morning, because Barbara forgot that it was 7 hours difference. So, hey, what can you say today? So I didn't have a script. So what I have to do is, in talking to you, is figure out, what do I want to say? What's important to me? How do I package that story? How do I package my message in such a way where, as Laura said, that it's engaging for the audience? And those of you who watched the show yesterday, those boys, yes, I had worked with those boys, but it was very kind of a set pattern. So when I asked them, especially Yanni, and we'll go over that tomorrow, we'll go over that in a few minutes. Yanni, who was the first student I worked with, Yanni just heard me saying that I was from New York. And he was like, wow. Other than that, he was just a normal 13-year-old boy. Oh, bonjour. And I was at his mother's restaurant. But once he started hearing the story of who I was or who I am, then he became engaged. I was no longer just the big black guy in his mother's store. I was a person that he wanted to talk to. And then because once you begin to understand what stories is, then the most important thing is to not only just know your story, but to figure out the story of the person that you're talking to or the company that you're talking to. So that's how I found out that Yanni not only speaks French, but he loves Spanish. That's his favorite language. Then I found out that Yanni his background is Algerian. So that means that I know his mother is from Guadeloupe. So that means his father is from Algeria. So in speaking to him, I have to begin to understand what his story is. That he has chapters in his story. He has characters in his story that if I can speak to, then it creates a relationship. So I had thought about going to the restaurant, doing my show from that restaurant. I had asked Yanni to be a part of it. And of course, Yanni, I saw him. You saw some of the pictures on Facebook. He came and he's playing basketball. Yanni loves basketball, which is another thing he got excited about. Because as soon as I told him that I was from Chicago, he just assumed that I knew Michael Jordan. And then I said to myself, he said, "You know Michael Jordan?" Of course, little kid. Sure. I talk to him every day. No, no, that's not true. But he got excited because I come from a place where one of his heroes live. So it creates the relationship. So here I'm ready to get on the show. 10 minutes ago, we're already setting up and everything else. And Yanni is just everywhere. And I said, Yanni, okay, 10 minutes. He says, oh, d'accord. D'accord means okay. But I can tell that he wasn't really there. He was there, but it was just like his friends, Ryan and David, were there and they wanted to go out there and play football or soccer for us Americans. And I was like, okay. I have a boy that I was going to feature on my show, and he's not really there. So, because of my training as a Chicago public school teacher, I was able to bring him in. I know what to say. I know the story that I have to tell in order to get children his age engaged. So I was sitting there for a second. I said, what am I going to do? And I saw him outside. He was still outside the restaurant. I said, I know. Why don't you just invite his friends? So I went outside. I said, gentlemen, I talked to him just like a gentleman. They're looking at me. I said, bonjour, comment ça va? Oh, ça va bien, bien, monsieur. Okay, then I said, all right, so David is going, Yanni, in 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, he's going to be famous. And Ryan, who was the bigger kid in the red shirt, said, what? Pourquoi? Why? And I said, because he's going to be on my show and my show broadcasts all over the world. And Ryan was like, for real? And I said, for real. And then David, who's the quiet one in the center, just said, wow. And you could tell that look on his face like David thought he was going to get left out because Ryan was already like, yeah, I'm down. Sign me up. And I said, David, wait a minute. Hold on. What about you? What do you have to say? He was like, I want to do that. And then it was the story that pulled them in. Then, so they went from being just three boys, can't wait to go, to coming on the show. And it wasn't like a series of questions. All I had to do is think the way a 13-year-old boy thinks. And the more information they gave me, what sports they like, what are their favorite foods, what are their favorite types of words that they use. And if you notice, and I want to take a second to deal with this issue from a bald head man point of view. Did you see the show, the way Yanni and David just kept going back in their head and pulling so the question I asked myself is, where did they learn this whole savoir-faire? Yanni, just as he said, he likes girls. He's 13 years old. I don't know if you saw his eyes. He has this beautiful topaz colored eye color. He speaks 3 languages, English, French, and Spanish. He has hair that they use in hair commercials, and he already has a sense of himself. That's what Once Upon a Time looks like. Because the only reason he was doing that was because someone told him a story. Someone told Ryan that he could be a footballer. David, look what David was talking about was global warming. Yanni was talking about girls and eating. Okay. Ryan was talking about doing different things, and I think he was into photography. But David switched gears and said, I'm into climate change. So if you're going to speak to someone, and it doesn't matter where, you have to understand what their story is, just like a gemstone. When I walk into appraisal, I can't think, okay, I'm used to seeing this diamond, I'm used to seeing this gemstone, I'm used to seeing this emerald. No, I have to step back and say, what is it? What is it? I'm in a region of France right now where truly I'm the only American. And I've been to about 6 or 7 different villages all over southwest region of France. And they're amazed, one, because I'm black or African American. For me, I'm still black. Okay, old school. I'm fairly large, 6 feet, 250 pounds. So they're like, oh, he is so big. But the thing that allows me to move throughout this whole country is an understanding of what a story is. So immediately when I speak to people, whether it be in Bordeaux, whether it be in Lyon, whether it be in Lille, whether it be in Paris, whether it be in Marseille, whether it be in the one of the greatest cities in the world, Dax, Tele. No, they're really small town. Dax, Tele has a population probably definitely smaller than my high school population. But the reason why I was able to, as an American, to move throughout this country is not because I understand. Je comprends français, je lis français, I can read French, but je parle français un peu because it takes a while for me to see the words and put it together. That's why when you watch me talk to French people, I'm really listening, and then I'm trying to catch the words together, because to me, I'm sure they feel the same way about us. As an American, we speak too fast. So I'm trying to listen to uh, their story. I'm trying to listen to a character of that story. And because of that is the reason why I'm here. I've been meeting with mayors and city officials about teaching science, teaching history, I've been teaching English as a foreign language here in France, and I'm seriously in talks about doing this more permanently. So remember that old Eddie Murphy movie, Harlem Nights, where the man meets sunshine and he calls up his wife, and his wife happened to be Barbara, and say, "Hey, Barbara, yeah, this Barry, I'm not coming back." In a way, that's how I feel. This has been a spectacular experience to be here in France, and it all started from a story. Some people ask me all the time, or people ask me all the time, how did you get to France? How are you spending all this time in France? It started from a story. It started from Toastmasters. I competed in the World Championship of Public Speaking. I competed in the International Speech Contest. I met someone who was a part of this school, the Siegel Institute. 2 years later, he called me up. I met French people, and then one thing led to another. Next thing I know, I'm in France. And now, the last time I was here was January 2020. In fact, I had just beat the coronavirus here. And sorry, I left France and just beat the coronavirus going to the United States. No, I did not bring it, but it wasn't that far behind. And I really thought it was over. The coronavirus changed so many things in my life. I was I was done with Siegel. I because of some of the things with that I saw happening because of my background in biological. It's hard to switch over from French to English. And biological, chemical, and biochemical warfare. I knew what the virus could do, so I thought it was over. But because of the relationships, because of the things that I have learned in my time, because of the people that I continue to speak to during those 18 months, here I am again. And one thing I want to say, I want to thank my translator. I didn't get a chance to thank Catherine Sadi, who made a lot of the connections possible. France is a very hard country to get into on a bureaucratic point of view, especially if you're not really fluent with not only just the language but fluent with the culture. So I was able to increase my storytelling skills with her help. So I just want to say to her, if she's watching, bravo, thank you so much for all the help that you've given me. And I say all these things because, like Boris and Julia, all of us have these great things inside of us. And because society says no, in France it's not just N-O, it's N-O-N. So no, no, no. You have to create something that's different. There's 7.8 billion people on the planet. There's what, 15 million or 10 million jobs that's open in the United States. People want more money. People want more opportunity. The coronavirus has changed the way people have want to live their lives. So the things that we used to do, the things that used to be okay, has to change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. The old definition of insanity. So if you want to, the thing about storytelling is once you understand how stories work, then you understand that you are a character in your own story. You're the hero, you're the bit player, you're the extra. You decide how you want to live your story, how you see it, and then you change it. Me being here in France actually goes way back because once upon a time I saw Indiana Jones. And I loved Indiana Jones. I loved being able to put on a hat and go to far off exotic places. And I loved him because he was into science and into history. Now, I don't necessarily need, native people chasing me with arrows and knives and swords, but all the rest I was down for. And now, 43 years later, here I am. In fact, Yanni, when I told Yanni that I was a gemological storyteller, Yanni asked me, "Are you Indiana Jones?" And all that came from a story. So today, as I always ask on every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, my show, Gem Hunter Stories, is on. But I'm going to ask you today, Friday, as we go into a weekend, I want you to take a moment to think about your life. Take some time to think about what you have created in all these years, all your experiences, your education, your family, your children, your relationships. Put that all together and take time to discover the value of your own stories. And if you do that, your once upon a time, the thing that you have dreamt of all your life, I promise you, will come true for you. So I'll see you next Wednesday. I don't even know where I'll be, but until then, au revoir and have a wonderful day. Take care. I'm